I am, let me hit got it. And I am the current selection chair for Leadership Plano, and I am an alum of class 36, best class ever. And unfortunately, we don't have our program director, Carol Graysdorf, here today, but if you have not met Carol, you will definitely get to meet her soon enough. And I'm joined also by some of my awesome advisory board members and alumni who you're going to get to hear from on the call as well. The purpose of today's Zoom session is to share information about overall the Leadership Plano program and how to apply. And I'm going to go over maybe about 10 minutes of some slides, and then you guys will have time to ask questions. So questions will come at the end. So go ahead and please write them down as you think of them, and I'll let you know when we're going to get going on those. Also, we're having problems with our caption. So if you need that, I put a note in the chat, but if you need captions, maybe send us a note and we can invite you to the May Zoom. Hopefully they will work better by then. And you're going to get to hear from some of our alumni at the end on personal stories about how Leadership Plano affected all of us. So a little more than 40 years ago, the Plano Chamber of Commerce, headed at that time by the late beloved attorney David McCall III, included a visionary group of community leaders, and they basically had a crystal ball that allowed them to see the future of Plano, and they realized the future would require strong, educated, outstanding leaders to guide the city forward. And even though at that time, I think it was like 1980, 81, Plano was less than 75,000 residents, the chamber inaugurated the Leadership Plano program. It's a program that has withstood the test of time for over 40 years, and it's developed individuals that include Plano Mayor John Munns, City Manager Mark Israelson, Plano ISD Superintendent Dr. Teresa Williams, School Board President David Stolley, and several current members of the Plano ISD Board of Trustees and Plano City Council. Leadership Plano's mission is educating, developing, and empowering current and future leaders for the community and motivating them to serve civic, charitable, and business organizations. So this fall, Leadership Plano will welcome Class 40. And let me describe basically what a year in LP looks like. So we kick off with an accessible weekend retreat, September 9th through 10th. Attendance is mandatory. If you cannot make the retreat, you cannot be in Class 40. Then you will attend a welcome reception in late September, early October with city dignitaries. That exact date is TBD. And then once a month from October through May, you attend a day-long session on different aspects of the city, including city history, city government, education, economic development, health and human services, criminal justice, the arts, nonprofits, and much more. These dates can all be found on the Leadership Plano website under the curriculum calendar. And then the class works together the second half of the year in the spring to execute a class project that has lasting positive effects on the community. And then in late May or early June, the program commences with a graduation attended again by city VIPs, and that date is currently TBD. John Maxwell, a renowned author on leadership, once said, "A leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way." And those words describe Leadership Plano graduates. So why should you guys apply? Leadership Plano will help you grow personally and professionally. It will provide you with a 9-month course in leadership development that enables you to take these experiences out into leadership positions in the community. Leadership Plano will provide you with strong, all-encompassing knowledge about the Plano community. It will give you behind-the-scenes experiences at venues you likely otherwise would not have the opportunity of visiting, like the county jail, the juvenile detention center, hospitals, schools, corporate headquarters, etc. Leadership Plano will introduce you to community, business, and organizational leaders like the city manager, the mayor, the superintendent of the schools, and leaders of major companies and nonprofit organizations. And most importantly to me, Leadership Plano allows you to create bonds with your other class members and LP alumni who will remain friends for many years after the program ends. As a board member, and I think everybody else on this call would probably say the same thing, for the past few years, we have the pleasure of watching a group of mostly strangers show up very early in September for a weekend retreat. They're complete strangers and they return 36 hours later as an incredible team that's ready to take on challenges, help each other, and serve the community. As you probably know, applications for Class 40 are now open. So what do you guys need to know if you're interested in applying, or maybe you have already begun the application process and you're sending me some questions? Go to leadershipplano.org. I will tell you this URL gives some browsers trouble. So I have put the link to the application in the chat, and we'll do it again at the end if you're just now joining us. Essentially, it's planochamber.org/get involved. And then I suggest reading the instructions for the application very carefully, read them 2 or 3 times, and then complete the application form, which can be begun and worked on in stages. You will have to make a username and a password, and you can come back to it. So if you want to go ahead and, if you haven't already done that, get started, log in, see what you're going to need, and then you can come back to it later. The deadline is June 15th, but you need to give yourself an adequate time before the deadline. I would say a month at least to make sure that you can complete all the steps. You need to ensure that you have 2 recommendation letters sent in by the deadline. You need to pay the non-refundable $40 application fee, and your entire application with all of the letters, the fee, everything has to be done by Thursday, June 15th at midnight, and that is a very non-negotiable deadline. So maybe pad that by a few days in case you're having difficulties. Part of the success of Leadership Plano is the fact that the people who have graduated from this program come into the program with very unique individual assets. Their applications demonstrated a degree of current or previous involvement in some aspect of the community. And those applications convinced the selection committee that these were people who were aware of issues that face Plano. They are eager for deeper or further participation in their community. They are problem solvers, they are risk takers, and their application showed evidence that their employers were aware of the time commitment Leadership Plano would take and encouraged them to apply. And there are certain criteria you must meet to be eligible for this program. You must live in Plano or work in Plano, or live within the Plano ISD boundaries, or work within the Plano ISD boundaries, or you can be a member of the Plano Chamber of Commerce or work for a company that is. If you're not sure, you can go to the Chamber website and you can search. You can call the Chamber if you're not sure. If you work for a large company and you don't know if they're a member. Or you can work for a company located outside of Plano that affects Plano. I'm going to go over some frequently asked questions that we get. First is, when will I be notified whether I'm selected? We send out letters to all applicants by mid-July to let you know if you are accepted or not. Everybody gets a letter. On a personal note, I will say we hear this a lot. People don't get in the first time, they get discouraged and they don't reapply. If you don't make it in your first time, please reapply. The selection committee tries to accept a very diverse class, and we mean diverse in age, gender, race, ethnicity, ability, the type of job you have, etc. And it is very competitive to get in. So sometimes it takes that second year for you to get in so that we have the best, most well-rounded class that we can put together. And we also do look at second-time applicants a little more closely. Who should write my recommendation letters? So you need to have 2. Submitting extras does not help. You get no brownie points for that. And we suggest 1 personal acquaintance and 1 professional acquaintance, and neither should be your family members. And I strongly suggest that whoever writes your recommendation letters, ask them to be extremely thoughtful, because like as in giving specific examples, not just answering yes, no, because that really weighs into the selection process. If you know someone who's been through LP, that might be someone good to ask for a recommendation because they know the program and they know if you're going to be fit. Also, Carol wanted me to make sure that I tell everyone this, so write it in. When you start the application, there is a separate link to the recommendation form. Send that link to the person you are asking to recommend. It can be found on the Leadership Plano website. It says clearly link for recommendation form. Candidates, that means you guys on this call, you should not log into this page. You should not create a username and a password for the recommender page. It will mess the system up and confuse all of us. Please click on that link, copy and paste that link to the people writing your letters. When is tuition due? Tuition for the year is $1,500 for chamber members or employees of chamber members, and it is $1,750 for non-members. It is due August 15th. There are payment plans and partial scholarships available. I highly recommend that you ask for a partial scholarship if you truly need that to participate. That information is kept to very few need-to-know committee members, and there are scholarships available, and we can't give them out if you didn't ask for them, so don't be shy. And just another, I guess, personal tip is Leadership Plano is definitely one of those things that you get out of it what you put into it. So I suggest that you make sure before you apply that you have looked at that calendar, you know that you can be at all of the events, you clear your schedule for class days, and you really prepare to make an investment in yourself and just put everything else aside, and you will get, your rewards will be much greater. So I think everybody on this call, including myself, we have heard from many people that they want to do Leadership Plano, but they're so busy with work and family, they don't have time, and it is quite the commitment. I understand that. When I did LP, I was a small business owner, and I felt the same way, and it took me years to get up the time, the nerve, the courage to apply. And I would definitely say it was an investment in myself. If you feel like you are ready to take the next step professionally or personally, this is a program that can make that happen if you make that commitment to participate fully. I found the program to be transformational. So that's enough from me. We have some alumni on the call today who are going to share a little bit about how they found the program to be personally. And I'm going to call on a few, and then we'll go into questions, and then we'll have some more alumni comment later. So Priscilla, why don't you introduce yourself and give a little bit about how you found it?
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Priscilla Brown, and I am from class 36 with Jen, best class ever. I will tell you, just listening to you, Jen, go through this process and this explanation just takes me back to the time when I actually applied to Leadership Plano, and it made me think about the things that I actually put in my application about what I thought the issues facing Plano are. And what I've found is that through my leadership journey, coming through into Leadership Plano, serving on the board for now my 4th year, and on my way out and doing other things in the community, that I have found myself actually doing other things in the community that so align with those areas that I said I found were issues facing Plano. I'm right now serving as chair of the board for a small nonprofit in Plano, and through COVID, we lost a lot of board members because people relocated, because they could work virtually. And the relationships that I built in Leadership Plano, either directly or indirectly, have helped me to rebuild that board with a really strong slate of individuals who are ready to serve, who are engaged in the community and rolling their sleeves up to help work and rebuild the board, and also breathe new life into this organization. So that's really an exciting thing. And I will add one other piece. I think one of the things that, as I reflect about Leadership Plano, is it focused me in 3 areas that were kind of like three legs on a stool. One was self-reflection in terms of my own leadership journey and where I wanted to be. The second is just development of my leadership skills. And then the third is putting me in contact with resources and individuals to help me bring all of that together and be able to contribute to our community. I'll stop right there.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. Let's see, Meryl, do you want to go ahead and talk a little bit?
Howdy, I'm Neil Evan. I'm from class 38, bestest class ever, and not grammatically correct. I am a self-employed speaker and accessibility marketing consultant, and need to give you a little background in that I was born profoundly deaf. I am a lip reader who doesn't sign. Leadership Plano came at the right time in my life, as my youngest had just gone off to college. I needed to find a new purpose within the community, and that's exactly what happened after I went through Leadership Plano. Now I'm on 3 nonprofit boards, including Leadership Plano, where I'm helping the board ensure the program is inclusive and welcoming. I am one of the first people with disabilities that we know of to be in the program, and they wanted to do whatever they could to ensure I could enjoy the full experience. Now, as a board member, I am continuing that work. When it comes to accessibility, everybody has different requirements. I hope that anyone who gets into the new class and has accessibility requirements would let us know, because we want to work with you to make it a great experience. I want to echo exactly what Priscilla said about the 3-legged stool. That applies to me as well. Being my kid, my youngest went off to college. That means all my PTA friends, all my friends from my kids' school, we've lost touch. When you don't see people on a regular basis, you just don't make the effort to stay in touch. So Leadership Plano has become that replacement, and it's been an amazing replacement. And I also want to point out that I have known about Leadership Plano for a long time before I applied, and did not apply because I thought it was more for people who wanted to run for elected position, something I do not want to do. And Jen actually was the one who encouraged me to apply, and that there's just so much more to it. And she's absolutely right.
Thanks, Meryl. We do have more alumni that we'll probably get to in a little bit, but I wanted to go ahead and get started on some questions from the potential candidates. So go ahead, you can just speak out or raise your hand. Don't be shy. Do y'all have questions about what the class days are like, or?
I have a quick question, Jen. I went ahead and looked through the application and noticed that there is a portion of it that speaks to your volunteerism. So is there any recommendation for anybody who is looking to apply that may not currently be volunteering their time, but has extensive volunteer time in the past?
Are you okay? So are you asking?
Like on the application specifically, it wanted kind of your two current volunteer positions, whether it's on boards or whatever else. But if you're not currently volunteering in any positions like that or with organizations locally, but you have a lot of past experience, do you just talk about your past experience? Is there kind of that, sure, or what does that look like, or what would you recommend?
Yes. Okay. So you're saying that if someone has done plenty of volunteering, but it's not right now, it's not current and in the last year, totally fine. Put that on there. I mean, there are some people who, like under employer, I believe it's worded like current employer, most recent employer. Some people have taken a 5 or 6 or 7 year break from being full-time employed. We've had, stay-at-home parents that have come and applied. So absolutely that, if your work experience or your volunteer experience, it has been, a few years ago, still put that. We have a committee that reads every single sentence of every single application. So we will get nuances. If there's a box where you're like, hey, we've had applications where people are like, I just took a couple of years off. I'm still super dedicated to certain causes, but I just want to take care of kids or whatever. We will read every single sentence. So, if you feel like there's been a gap in anything, still put it and then just let us know.
Jen, can I add something to that?
Of course.
This is Nicole, and I volunteered. I was a stay-at-home mom for 20 years, and I did a lot of volunteering during that time. But when I applied for the program, I had gone back to the working world for 5 years or so, and pretty much was just consumed with my working. I wasn't currently volunteering at the time that I applied for the program and I was accepted. So don't let that be a barrier for you.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Hi, Jennifer. I have a question. Michelle Maynard MacArthur, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having this. My question is, the day again is Thursday from 8 to 5 Central Standard Time. And then there was some additional because I juggle, and you mentioned it's like, okay, it's a busy schedule, but this is definitely the time that I want to, and I've just been given recommendations to do this. At this time, there's a retreat, which is for a weekend, or is it during the week that's in addition?
Yeah. Do you want me to talk a little bit more about retreat?
Yeah, well, mainly the time and the commitment. It's the day from September to May, I believe, for that amount of period for every Thursday is that,
Sure.
that I'd have to take off. And then the sidebar question is when that is, because I do a lot within the community. And I think it mentioned it needed 2, but I've got probably more. I'm learning to balance that volunteering versus now getting my coaching, health and wellness coaching practice a little bit more up and going. So that part right there, it's just that time and then the retreat. That's pretty much our commitment. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, I'll go a little bit more into detail on the time commitment. Namrata, can you back up to the slide that has the calendar, please? One more. Perfect. Okay. So you will find out in mid-July if you've been accepted or not. The first event you come to is a weekend retreat. It is September 9th and 10th. That is a Saturday, Sunday. It begins very early Saturday at the chamber, and then it ends Sunday evening. I don't want to give an exact time. It may be 5 or so. That is mandatory. If you have paid and you don't show up for the retreat, you will be refunded and an alternate will take your place. I think that's the only mandatory thing we have, but this will be spelled out on your application. But well, let me not jump too far ahead. I'm going to go in order. So then after the retreat is a welcome reception. That is not mandatory, but in the application, it will tell you you have to attend either the welcome reception or graduation. If you miss both, you don't graduate. And I'm telling you, they're strict. We had people not graduate. We don't have a date for the welcome reception. It is usually a weekday around 5:30 or 6. So hopefully we will have that by the time you have to accept. And then the day-long sessions begin in October, and it is every month, October through May. It is usually the 3rd Thursday. There is, I think, one exception because of a holiday. So please go to the website and download that curriculum calendar, and those days are on there. The days are generally 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., but we have breakfast starting at 7:30, which most people want to have. And then there may be an occasion where we go a little bit past 5. I don't have this in front of me, so I hope I don't get this wrong. But you are allowed on class days, if you need to leave for a doctor's appointment that is just like, I cannot miss this, you can. At the beginning of class days, you sign in. And when you leave, if you have to leave for an hour, you sign out and then sign back in. And we keep track. And I believe, and it is in your application, so please read this, but I believe you can miss no more than like 16 hours of your class days, because it comes out to about 2 classes. But if we did have someone, unfortunately, that did not graduate our class year because she missed an hour here, an hour there, 2 hours here, 2 hours there. And she missed it by like a half hour, but she didn't graduate. And then the class project is in the spring. That is a little bit, those rules are not as strict. The class project, it varies from year to year. So it's very hard for me to give you too many parameters around that. But essentially the goal of the class project is that everyone in the class touches it somehow, whether that's all stay-at-home work or on-site work. And that has to be done by graduation. The class works together to come up with that schedule. So I don't have that schedule at all. And then you conclude with the graduation that is late May, early June. That will be a weekday in the evening, a couple of hours. And again, you need to go to reception, welcome reception, or graduation to graduate, one or the other. Did that answer your questions on time commitment?
Oh, yeah, because actually, if I'm hearing you right, it's one Thursday a month. It's not every Thursday for that. Okay. And then the other, okay, all right. And the other part that was, had me a question was, but I'm glad that Meryl's here, is just someone that has unique differing abilities. And so I'm excited to see that, because I know that you'll make it, if there's certain special accommodations or something that's needed, it's about with people with limitations.
Yeah, that reminds me, I will touch a little bit more on retreat. We don't like to give you too much detail about retreat because some of it is the surprise, a little bit of a surprise element. But on your application, you will have an area where you can let us know if you think you have any accessibility needs. And there are rumors that go around about retreat, and I will not confirm any of those rumors about the activities, but I know I've had friends that were scared to apply because they heard rumors about what happens at retreat. We like to call it challenge by choice. All of leadership, I like to laugh. All of Leadership Plano is asking you to step a little bit outside your comfort zone. We don't want to terrify people, but I think everybody on this call would agree that that's the only way you grow, is a little bit, stepping a little bit outside your comfort zone. But we don't want to terrify people. We don't want to make people, we never want anyone to feel uncomfortable or like their needs are not being met. So when you arrive at retreat, you'll have enough info to pack appropriately. And when you arrive, there will be opportunities where you can say, I can't participate in that way, but I could participate if we adjusted it a little bit this way. And we're all ears. You have plenty of opportunity to tell us before retreat. I don't know, I can answer more questions if you'll have specific ones.
I'll speak up for John Skelton. Past class examples, class project examples. I'm curious about like what that looks like.
Looks like Meryl has already dropped those in the chat.
Oh, I didn't see it pop up.
Thank you so much, Meryl, because I didn't have all of those.
And I'm not put the link to the document itself if you can't read that long yet. And
Awesome.
I'm gonna add on to Jen at the rope course. We had a couple of people who just like climbed part of the way and then got back down. So they're very flexible in what you do, and nothing, a couple of people didn't participate at all. And no pressure, nothing.
Absolutely.
What about the Thursday sessions? What do those entail? Like what are we digging into?
Okay, so about a week before each session, you will get an email from Carol with your location, how to park. We always provide breakfast and lunch. And each month, it'll be on your curriculum calendar, the topic. So for instance, public education, we try to meet at a school or the admin building. For public health, we try to meet at different hospitals. I'm just going to tell you one of the most important things about Leadership Plano right now. Carol's not on this call and it is being recorded and she's probably going to watch it. So I'm just going to let you guys know. If you are on time for something, you are already late. You need to be, every single thing you get from Leadership Plano, you need to add about 15 minutes before that as the real time. So I say that sessions start at 8. That's a booty in a chair at 8 o'clock. The days are, it's funny, I've been on the board now for 4 years and we kind of hear the same thing. We survey all of our class members after every single class, so we continually improve, but we get a lot of the same comments. The class days are long and they're kind of intense, but they are so chock full of informative speakers that it's very hard to decide what you would take out. That said, when you come, you need to plan to have a partner or a spouse, if you have kids, They need to be doing pickups and drop-offs. Your office has to know that you are, for the most part, unreachable for the day. And I mean, guys, we have like CEOs and CFOs and doctors participate in LP, and they usually make this happen. You bring a pen and paper and you are listening to amazing presentations all day. We try very hard to add interactivity, so you don't feel like you're just kind of stuck back in school sitting in a classroom. That said, sometimes the sitting is too much for people. We always build in areas where you can stand in the back of the room. If you need to walk in circles in the back, if you need to pace, that is totally fine. We try to add breaks after almost every speaker, even if it's just a stand up and stretch break. But they are very packed days, and they are, it's just like, I mean, I would say probably no less than 8-10 speakers per day. And I can answer more specific questions if you have them about the days themselves. Or my board members can jump in.
I would say don't plan anything for those Thursday nights because you're going to be exhausted. That's my advice.
Yep.
Or if you plan something, you can get a happy hour together with your classmates.
Exactly. Happy hour.
One other thing, Jen, I saw someone mention about Road Rally in the chat. Did you want to talk about that or anything else that might be additional?
Actually, that's perfect. I see that comment now. So we do have other activities out throughout the year that are not on the calendar because they're always subject to change depending on that year's board. We try every year to have a road rally. I don't want to tell you too much, except that it's sort of a Saturday afternoon scavenger hunt situation that is very fun. I don't want to tell you too much. We have a holiday party, and road rally is only for your class, and it's kind of one of those right after retreat, sort of a get to know Plano bonding experience. It's very informal. Then we have a holiday party that is every alum from all 40 classes, they're invited. So, and same with the spring fling, which we actually have this weekend. All of the alum are invited. We have a wine tasting in April, usually, that is a recruiting event. I'll tell you a little bit more about it in a minute, but that's also open to alumni. Those are not mandatory, and sometimes those come with additional fees. So everything else that I have talked about is included in your tuition. But those additional things like wine tasting, holiday party, sometimes those are a nominal fee, or this past year we had holiday party sponsored, so that was free. They're not required. You, as a new class member, you will there are certain chunks of the year, I will say probably by like November, where you're like, okay, I've been to a lot of Leadership Plano events. I kind of need a little bit of a break. So we don't make all of those evening events required, but that does make me, I don't want to jump into too much about what some of my other alumni might say on the call, but that's one of my favorite things about Leadership Plano is if you're accepted into class 40, you are now part of a 40-year tradition. You may go to the wine tasting and meet someone from class 1. You may go to the holiday party and, there are a former mayor there, or, someone that was in class. We literally have people that have been in the classes since before some of us were born. So it's a really cool, not only do you get to meet your 35 class members and bond with them, you are now joining part of this alumni network that I will literally email people I don't know and be like, I don't know you, but I need this, and I'm class this and you're class that. And then they're more prone to, give you some of their time. So I really love that alumni network. Actually, I want to ask some of the others on the call to go ahead and just give a little bit more about their personal experience. Nicole, do you want to go ahead and talk for a minute?
Sure. Nicole Warhoftig, class 38, best class ever. Some of my classmates are on the call too. So I serve Plano as a city employee, but I did learn through Leadership Plano all the different ways that I can serve as a now resident of Plano. I know Priscilla and Meryl touched on that with their experience, so I'm going to I'm going to flip it a little bit and talk about my personal experience with Leadership Plano. So I have what my family and I call stranger danger, which is my way of saying that going to groups of large groups of people that I don't know gives me anxiety. And I did not know any of the 35 people that were in my class. And it came the weekend of the retreat, and I was just about in tears, which isn't unusual for me. My class will tell you I was a class crier. But anyway, I showed up at the chamber that morning with such anxiety and felt like I was with my parents dropping me off at overnight camp for the first time. So I loaded my things on the bus. I went up to this room, this large room of people I don't know who I was about to spend the next 2 days with. And I would say, well, let me just say that I do know that this room is filled with amazing leaders in all forms of life. And so it took probably about an hour, maybe, once I got on the bus to realize we aren't here because of our titles and who we work for. We're here because we've all shown how we can be leaders in various aspects of our life. And that weekend was so amazing for me. It was such a confidence booster. I left that weekend just, as everybody says, with 35 new best friends. I didn't want the weekend to end. I was so looking forward to continuing the journey with my class. And each session, you gain more and more confidence in yourself. And you learn that your voice does have value and your input has value. And each person in Leadership Plano finds value in different ways and at different times. And the journey for me was so important for my personal growth and professional growth, but just the personal growth that I got out of it was amazing. And I built my confidence so much that my class elected me as one of the board members for this year. And I'm just truly honored to now sit on the Leadership Plano board and help guide and make it an awesome experience for the upcoming classes. So that's my experience. It's been amazing and has just enriched my life so much. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Nicole. Jarvis, I think you're on the call, Jarvis. Did you want to give a little bit of a testimony, or do you want to pass?
I will give a testimony. Not a problem. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jarvis Archibald, class 38, and everyone says the best class ever, but it is true that class 38 definitely raised the bar. So we're the class you want to strive for when you get in. But my experience is unique. Well, I wouldn't say it's unique. I don't live in Plano. But I work in Plano. I work for Children's Health, and we have a campus there on Preston Road in Plano. And so I went into this really looking at it more as an investment for me professionally, because I didn't know exactly what I was stepping into. And I can reiterate what a few other folks said, but what I will jump to and tell you is that the investment in me personally exceeded the investment in me professionally. The class 38, all the classes are tight, but I took away from it friendships, network, connections that I will have for a lifetime. And that to me is the most valuable. You meet some of the most incredible people that are doing fantastic work in every segment of the community, healthcare, corporate, you name it, nonprofit. I mean, just salt of the earth people that are just that I did not run across every day. And so this environment allowed me to meet these folks, and I wouldn't change it for nothing. So obviously there's a lot that I can go into from a business standpoint, and in getting closer to the community that our hospital serves, and the kids that we serve, and the families. that is all a given. I feel like I know more about Plano. I do know more about Plano. It's not I think. I know more about Plano than I do about Frisco, the city that I live in. So, but overall, this has been a wonderful experience. And I'm glad you all are applying. If you choose to apply after this session, it will be a positive experience, I guarantee you.
Thank you so much, Jarvis.
Mhm.
Brian, do you want to give a few words?
My name is Brian Lyons. I am class 36, and I was part of the class with Jen and Priscilla that was on the call. And I can't say that we are the best class ever for so many different reasons. And I currently chair, I'm the chair for Leadership Plano on our advisory board this year. What I can tell you, you may have some sticker shock when you saw the tuition, but I tell you what, it's cheaper than therapy. And the reason why I say that is I echo some of the sentiments that Nicole and Jarvis mentioned about what it does for you and what it does for you personally, in terms of that. For me, at the time, I was a high school principal in Plano when I went through my year in the program, and it made me a better husband, made me a better father. My just.
I think Brian lost his ear thing.
Sorry, my earpiece just. It made me a better father. It's been made me a better principal. Taught me more than just about leadership, but more about my communication style and how I interact with different communication styles. I'm able to some of those things and transfer to different parts professionally and personally. And I can say that you walk away from it, I mean, better than you came in for various reasons. And all I can say is if I'm an introvert by nature, that is, and that was my fear too, is like not 6 strangers, I gotta have small talk. And Leadership Plano has become a functional introvert, where you can put me in, and it's equipped me with some skills and some things that will allow me to help me be better and to help others be better as well. So say more great things about it. It has stretched me to become a person that I am today, and I owe a lot of that to.
Thank you so much, Brian. I know you guys have to have more questions. No?
I
I'll
have a
touch-
question. I'll have a question real quick because I was looking at the calendar, and just to note, for the October, it says October 1 is the meeting date, but it also then says the 3rd Thursday. So I think it probably means the 19th, just FYI. But that wasn't my question. In looking at it in the different classes that there is going to be, I was curious what people's like either favorite class was, most surprising class was out of the list.
Oh, Jen, can I answer that one?
Please. Laura is a board member who is a little under the weather. So I wasn't going to call on her, but yes, please share.
Yeah. So, business and economic development was the biggest surprise for me because even though, I'm in business, I work in wealth management, I thought, okay, this is kind of dry material, but I cried that day. Like, I think more people in my class cried, not just Nicole, that day, in what we didn't expect to be an emotional session than anybody had ever anticipated. And it was really the class throughout the entire year that stuck with me the most. Because we have some amazing speakers, and it was really due to the speakers and then what they presented that spoke to our class, who then were able to share their personal stories. So that's the part about the personal development, I think, and how it helps you as a leader, as a person. It was It was super impactful, and Libby is great. Libby Spears, right? That's her name.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. I'll jump in and say, because someone else mentioned this too, what Laura's talking about, and I'm not sure how clear it is in some of the online materials. In addition to kind of your crash course in the city, we build in several times throughout the year, several hours of personal development, like leadership development, and you get a lot of it at the retreat. And you learn a lot about yourself. You learn about how you work great. You learn maybe some things that you need to work on, and you really learn how to work with other people. So that could be helpful if you have a team. I learned things that like I think I brought home to my house, and I think Brian was the one that said this, so I'm not too embarrassed to say it. I think my husband was thankful I went through Leadership Plano. And what Laura's talking about is we have this person, Libby Spears, who does a lot of that leadership development, and she very much so encourages people to be vulnerable. And I have sat through 4 years of classes now. I find every single session to be very, I know we joke about safe space, but I find every single session to be a place where all of the classmates can sit there and really share without judgment. And you will have people that are polar opposites in your class. And I think it's a really good way to learn how to deal with people that are very unlike you, that maybe you can take out into your family or into the workplace. And it's just a really good space for you to be able to do that in a way that you won't be judged or threatened. Anybody else want to share what their favorite class was or what surprised them?
I was surprised, actually. So the very first session is Government Day, and as Elizabeth knows, we feel like we know a lot about the city of Plano because we work for the government. But I was amazed at how much I learned about our own city government that I work for. So that I loved that session. It was one of my favorites. I mean, not just because I knew a lot of the people, but it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. Another one of my favorite ones was PISD Day. So at the time, I'm currently a Plano resident. At the time, I was a Frisco resident. My 3 children went through Frisco ISD, and of course, I thought it was the greatest thing in the world until I sat through PISD Day, and I was completely blown away and almost kind of jealous that my kids didn't go through PISD. So that was a really eye-opening day for me. I was really impressed with the services and the tours, and so I really enjoyed that day quite a bit.
I'll piggyback on PISD Day. It made me question where I live. For sure. It was a good one.
Or if anybody has a new question, we have a few more minutes to keep going.
I just want to say thank you all for stepping forward and sharing with us. Really, I had been approached by some other people that recommended that I should, apply already, but this definitely gives more, gives it a little bit more substance as to what's going on. So thank y'all. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. While you guys are still thinking, because we have a few more minutes, I will tell you about the wine tasting event. I put the link to that in the chat. It is April 26th. I think that's a Wednesday. It's from 5:30 to 7:30. It is definitely not required if you want to apply for class 40, but it is kind of an alumni networking event coupled with a recruiting event. So if you want to buy a ticket, and because it's not free, I can't remember what they are, but if you want to buy a ticket, we're doing wine tastings at Corner Wines. It's a 2-hour event. I'll be there. Several of the board members will be there. Carol, our program director, will be there if you haven't met her yet, and some alumni. And that's a great way to just kind of have some fun. You'll hear a little bit more of the same stuff we kind of just went over, but that's a really good way to meet more alumni and find out what they got from the program, what they enjoyed about the program, and just kind of meet more people that you might be, some of the people on this call may be in the class with you. So it's a good way to meet them as well. So I encourage you to sign up for that if that's the sort of thing you're into. And then Nimrata, will you please skip to the last slide? There you go. So this is my contact info. And Carol Grace Dorff, our program director, that's her contact. She answers the Leadership Plano email. No question is dumb. because we've all asked the same questions. I mean, nitty gritty questions about retreat, especially. Like, I don't know why, but people get really into that. You can email us, you can text us if you prefer, you can call. And then, you know, you see some of the names of the people that are other board members on this call that I'm sure would be happy to answer questions as well. So if you think, you know, screenshot this or write it down. And if you think of something later, let us know, because you do have until June 15th to hit submit on those applications, but I definitely would say do it several days in advance. I guess if no one else can think of anything else that they want to
I have a
ask.
question,
Go for it.
Jen. Sorry, this is John Skelton. I don't know whether I know I completed the application already, but I'm looking at my submission and I'm wondering, well, I think I can provide a little additional information. If I've already submitted it and I submit it again, is that going to mess you all up? Should I just email additional information? Or?
So the honest answer is I don't know. I can find out for you. I'm going to also ask Namrata, who is the wonderful person on the chamber account running our slideshow. Namrata, do you happen to know if he can go in and make adjustments after he hit submit?
I think so. I think you can still log in and make any.
Yeah, I was definitely able to log in and see the submission. So I'm just wondering if I submit it again, is that going to break something on your end? I don't want to mess with it.
Wipe the whole thing out. You have to start over again.
Well, I saved my work.
Yeah. Truthfully, I don't know. And so I'd rather find out and give you the right answer. My email, I can see Meryl put my email in the chat. Just send me a message or Carol and we'll find out for sure for you.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, you all. Well, thanks so much. I hope to see some of you guys at the wine tasting. And just email if you have questions. Don't be shy. Bye.
Thank you. Good to
Thank
see
you. Thank you
Namrata.
so much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.